Hey! Welcome to Creative Block. We're your host, Gene.
And V, we interview people in the animation industry about their life, work, and hobbies while we doodle jam.
We ask people on Twitter if they have specific topics they want us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts.
And today with us, we have Mathieu Cousin. I did
Hi.
not say that right. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me. So glad to be
Thanks
here.
for being on the show. You are an incredibly talented artist. I've been a big fan of your work for a while. And so I'm really glad that you agreed to come on our show, because I'd love to hear about your journey and how you got to where you are. But for those who don't know who you are, tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure, yeah. I'm Matthew Cousin. I'm a freelance artist situated in Sweden. I've done a couple of different things. I've done concept art for mobile games. I've done illustrations, comics, and comic book covers. But my main thing, so to speak, would be character designs. And yeah, I'm currently a character designer on Disney's The Owl House.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and you're regularly posting designs from the show too, and they're always like incredible. I mean, that whole show looks great, and yeah, I wanna applaud that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a lot of work.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool people working on the Owl House. A lot of them,
Definitely,
whom I followed before I even started as a freelance artist. And then when I discovered I got to work with those guys, I was like, oh my god.
Because I remember your art from the Tumblr days. Like, you were really big on Tumblr. And were these people also people you followed back from Tumblr?
Yeah, back from Tumblr, and even further beyond. If we, maybe I shouldn't. Okay, I won't mention him because maybe that will embarrass him. But there was one artist who works on the Owl House that I followed even before Tumblr. Do you guys remember Blogspot?
Oh, of course,
yes,
yeah. Yeah.
So I had a Blogspot.
So yeah, there was this one artist there who works on the Owl House who used to upload his illustrations and Inktober's there, and that was I think that was 10 years ago or something. I don't know, and it's just so fun that I get to work next to him, or
Sure,
or sorta next to him.
Well, yeah, virtually next to him. But that's part of the thing, right? Is that you're working remote from Sweden on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Is that well? You know what? We're getting ahead of ourselves. We should take it back. Tell us about kind of how you got your start doing art. What initially inspired you to get into it, and all that.
All right, sure. Should I go back to the very beginning?
Wherever you want, wherever you feel the significant moments.
Yeah, I guess I could. Yeah, I mean, I always had a big interest in drawing and art. As I grew up with 5 other siblings, and we always encouraged each other to draw and create ideas and stories together. We would
I love that.
Yeah, we would make up our own comics and OCs. We would try doing Flash cartoons.
How old were you when you were trying to do Flash cartoons?
I think we were 10 years old or something.
Wow.
But they weren't much to brag about. They were
that's sure, but that's still.
You were still learning the technique, right?
Like,
I mean, that's the interest and your drive was there.
Yeah, exactly. Because we were super interested in computers and games and digital stuff, even though our dad wasn't super into it. It never stopped us from exploring
the medium.
Yeah, when I started doing Flash pretty early, but not 10. That's impressive. I think it's I think when you're a kid at that age, it's fun to just break into a software and just start figuring it out, right? It's that's the perfect time to kind of just mess around with. Do you remember what kind of animations you were making at that time? What was the stuff you were doing?
Well, it was mostly stick figure fights.
Of course,
and stuff like that. I remember we yeah, we used to like download music and audio files from like LimeWire and stuff to put into our work. We also had some really weird audio files that we got from some emulator, like a Spider-Man game from an PS1 emulator or something.
Oh wow!
And we like try to combine those audio files and make it into a story.
That's so funny. And were you like posting those online, or were you just kind of doing these for like yourself and your siblings?
Yeah, we were just like doing them for ourselves. I don't think our like internet connection was good enough for posting stuff online. And we didn't know English that well either.
Oh, that's true. When do you feel like you started being like fluent enough in English? Do you feel comfortable online?
I was pretty late into the online game where I like really took it seriously. It wasn't until I was like 20 or something where I started uploading for real and like interacting with people.
Oh, interesting.
Online.
Very interesting. Were you and your siblings, did you all decide to pursue a career in art? Or like, were you just like the one that was like, this is my thing?
Yeah, so both my older siblings, my big sister and big brother, they dropped drawing pretty fast. I always kept an interest in it, and my younger siblings, they don't pursue it professionally, but they still have a very keen interest in art and like appreciation of the creative process.
That's awesome.
They still like love cartoons and comics and video games and all that.
Did you by any chance, did you ever kind of like take any art classes, or how did you pursue art as a like teenager, and did you kind of like go to art school after graduating?
Yeah, so in high school, that was the first time I was able to like go more in depth into art. And yeah, after that, I studied 2 years at an art school because I wanted to go even more in depth and explore what you could like accomplish as an artist.
What kind of art were you studying? Was it like art for animation or for comics, or was it fine arts?
No, that it was the type of school where you could like try out a bunch of different mediums. So I was like trying out painting, what's it called when you're sculpting, all that sort of stuff. But it always like fell back on drawing for me.
Yeah, it's cool that you got those opportunities to try that stuff out though. So it's like you never know. I feel like there's I wish that I could have had a chance to try more things, different kinds of mediums, because like I'm not very good with physical media. Is there any other media that you liked other than just like like paper drawing, traditional drawing?
No, there was nothing I liked as much as drawing, I would say.
Sure.
I mean, painting was sort of close to it, but yeah, not the same.
Because your art has such a strong sense of volume that I would not have been surprised if you said that you like did some sculpting or some kind of work with like clay or Sculpey or something like that.
Oh really? Because that's something that I've struggled with a lot. I don't feel like it was until fairly recently that my drawing started to gain volume and like a more 3D dimensional feel. Because before then I feel like I opted for a more graphic style.
Okay.
People would usually compliment me in that way, like they would say, "Oh, your style is very appealing, even though it's kind of flat."
Sure. What made you make that shift into drawing with more volume? I
think, it was partly because, people were like, "Oh, it looks kind of flat," so I wanted to like.
Really?
Yeah, so I made I've done that a lot with my style, that I made like very conscious decisions to change it. I never want to like stay at the same place, so to speak.
Yeah.
And as a designer, I also realized how important it is to think three-dimensionally.
Yeah. Did you so because you grew up in Sweden and you went to school in Sweden, what were you thinking about in terms of what your career could look like with art? Like, did you just when you pursued this career, were you thinking like oh yeah, I'm gonna go into animation, or were you just kind of like, well, I'll just take it one step at a time and see where this leads me?
Yeah, it was more like the second one, where I just knew that I wanted to draw. I always like changed, or like what I wanted to do with my drawing always changed. Like at some point that I wanted to be a concept artist, but then I shifted and was like, no, I want to be like a Warhammer artist.
Nice.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I don't know, that always changed. It wasn't until during art school where I was like, okay, I gotta really decide on specialization, because I don't want to just like float around in space forever, being like, oh, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that.
Right.
And I think, at the time, my style was very suited for comics animation, because I like to draw fun, expressive characters, and I really like to draw with ink and paper at the time too. And that's where I ended up, because after art school, I applied for a comic book school in Malmö.
Oh, nice. Oh, wait, so the art school you went to, was it like a high school?
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have that in America? It's not high school and it's not university. It's something in between.
Oh.
I don't think so. Not really. There's like community college, but that's not really the same.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. Yeah. It's closer
Really?
to a
Okay.
community college.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't get like a real degree or anything.
So yeah, it's an associate degree. It's just 2 years usually.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it was the same deal with the comic book school.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, anyway, the comic book school, I feel like, was the real game changer. Not because of the education itself, that was like all right, but it was more like the people I met there, the transition I had from traditional art to digital, and my journey into the online world of art.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you feel like school kind of was what kind of pushed you a little bit into the online sphere, or was it more the people you were hanging out with?
It was more the people I was hanging out with, because the comic book school, where they didn't talk much about the possibilities of online work. They were more focused on the Swedish comic book sphere, which was fairly small, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like you only had a couple of choices to pick from if you wanted to work in Sweden. But it was my classmates that convinced me like to start uploading and like searching for art online. And it's not like I didn't know about that world. I had been on DeviantArt in the past, and like we talked about, I used to follow a bunch of blogspots.
Mm-hmm.
When that was a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't until then that I like deep dived really into it, like more specifically the world of Tumblr. And Tumblr was like so big at the time, like you could find any type of artist in there, and they would like form their own communities and do projects together. I don't know, it just felt like you got more closer to artists and their work than before.
I think that's really true.
That's
what
great.
you're saying, that you could get closer to artists because you could like and reblog, but on top of that you could comment, and like you could reply to comments. I guess it was like the instant Wait, it was the DMs. That was the big difference between Blogspot and Tumblr, I think. That made it so that you could kind of like form friendships online. Yeah.
Yeah, the DMs and like the ability to like reblog and easily like share other people's work.
Yeah.
Because that became like a form of communication as well.
It really was, because I remember your Tumblr that you had the inside and the outside, and that I was like, that is so smart. It's like this one is the work you produce, and the other one is the work you like. I was like, oh, so good.
Oh my god, I can't believe you remember that.
I do, because you were reblogging a lot of really cool stuff, like. And it's funny because when we're going to talk about your influences, we can even like talk about this blog, because you had
let's do it now.
Like all these like the art from like other like artists like that were our age, but also sometimes you would reblog like video game like concept art, or like comics or animation. Like it was just like very, very broad, I feel.
Yeah. I like to keep my interest broad, and yeah, like with Tumblr and like the online world, like it opened up so many new, like you get so many new sources of inspiration. Suddenly, it wasn't just like a handful of artists and like comic books that you like. It was like over 1,000 different artists that all like would inspire you, and they would like upload every day. They would like go through their process. You would like see the behind the scenes of how they worked. I don't know. It was just super inspiring.
Tumblr is kind of this last like breath of the actual like art driven platform, because like DeviantArt was such a nice community centered around art, and Tumblr obviously was more than just art or animation, but like, man, like that, it feels like there was a lot of opportunity for growth within Tumblr and building those communities, and like I don't really know what that is anymore, like, because Twitter's not great. We all know Twitter's not great. Instagram's not great. So it sucks that Tumblr went the way it did, because it was a lot of fun, and I think a lot of careers got started because of it. Like a lot. Both of you, for 100%. Sure. It sounds like
I would agree with that.
Really,
yeah. For real.
It helped launch you, and then I don't think it was as much for me, but I come from sort of the. But it did help. I come more from like the animation world and Newgrounds and all these things. But for comic artists and illustrators especially, like Tumblr was huge, and so I don't know. I hope something new comes along soon.
I do feel like,
hopefully.
I don't know. I feel like some people are like I feel like I see a little bit of that with like Discord. Like it's like more like Discords now, so it's a little bit like communities. But I don't know. I don't know if you've seen anything, Mathieu, about like, what's the. What would you say is the platform where you get the most engagement now?
Definitely Twitter.
Yeah.
Which like you said, Twitter. It's not the prettiest place.
No.
There's I don't know. Yeah. It's not as focused on art. There's not a sense of community. There's a lot more unavoidable like drama.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the site itself like promotes.
Yeah, it's fueled by it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like fueled by negativity, and people just feel more inclined to, I don't know, participate in that sort of drama. I mean, there was drama on Tumblr too, but I didn't experience that much of it. I thought it was pretty easy to
avoid it. Yeah,
exactly. Like if you follow the right people, it was super easy to avoid it. But I don't know. With Twitter, it can just like appear on your homepage because of.
It's constant.
Yeah. You have like
it's constant.
You have like close to 50K followers. Have you noticed kind of like a difference in the way people engage with you? Every like throughout the different benchmarks that you went through, I guess, on Twitter. Like do you feel like there's anything different between like when you were 10K to when you were 20K to now?
Not really, actually. I think I've been pretty lucky in that regard, that I haven't received a lot of negativity around my work and my uploads. Then again, I don't share a lot of my personal thoughts or opinions.
I was gonna say, yeah. Do you feel like you share much of like yourself on there? Because that's where you get into some gross internet shit.
I think that's smart though.
That's when people start judging.
Yeah, I feel like
Oh, it's smart.
Like it kind of like keeps it more professional. That's so interesting. But I'm like so glad that you're still posting on Tumblr. I've been using Tumblr a lot more recently, and it's been just really nice. And I'm so glad to see that you're still posting there.
Yeah, I went back to Tumblr this year because I don't know. It was like after the bombs had dropped and like everybody's poking their head out, like seeing it's okay.
It seems like there's been a bit of a return.
Yeah, I still think it's a good platform. I still like the format, how you can arrange your pictures, how you can edit your posts. It's still a lot more art friendly than Twitter. It's just that people don't hang around anymore.
Yeah.
Or not as much people.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, it's evolved into this weird thing where like TikTok might be the big one for art now, and that's bizarre to me because it's like but artists, especially younger artists, will use it in a way where they'll like show themselves drawing the thing, and then at the end they like reveal what they were drawing, and it's like this whole other layer to it that it's like, I don't want to have to do this. I'm too old, and I don't want to have to like take a fun video set to like Lil Nas X of me drawing a thing.
I guess we just have to get VTubers. Like I
different.
Could do it.
We just need
I
VTubers.
would do it if I had like an avatar. I don't want my face to be everywhere. I don't know. Yeah, it's like. Yeah,
I know.
And I feel like Mikey, you're pretty private in that sense as well. Like you don't draw yourself often, and you don't really like put pictures of you out there, right?
No, yeah, I'm pretty reserved in that way. I'd like to come out of my shell a bit more. Maybe not by oversharing stuff online, but I want to try and do like art streams and stuff where I can talk casually.
Nice.
With my followers, but I still want to keep my blogs relatively clean, so to speak, since they for one, I don't want to overshare, and two, my blogs have sort of become my portfolio. Since I don't have a real portfolio site, all my employers will have to go to my blogs to see my work, and I don't want them to scroll through like 100 gaming opinions or whatever to find my designs.
Talking about portfolios and being a professional and all that, so when you went to the comic school, what was your first paid gig as an artist? Was it during school? Was it after school? And kind of how was looking for work like for you?
So yeah, I only had one Swedish job. It was for a comic, but besides that, I got all my work online, and I started out pretty small, just like focusing on uploading stuff every day. Like I drew fan art and joined tags to try and build up an audience, and eventually from that I started doing private commissions. Character commissions, like $25 for full body, $15 for half a character. And then I would start to make and sell my own products, like comic and sketchbook signs, which also was like a real big thing back on Tumblr back then. And luckily, since I was in a comic book school, I was able to print them there. And I could sell them at the Swedish Comic-Con.
I remember. I met you there. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, no. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I still have a poster I bought from you because you were with Piao Studio at the time.
I was. Yes.
Nice.
Oh my gosh. It's so fun. I love having all the Piao people on Creative Block. Like Piao and Jason. Oh my gosh, it's so fun.
Yeah.
How many times did you go to the Swedish convention?
I only went there twice. But it was always fun going to the Piao table, because they were also like this sort of window to the outside world. Like they always went like beyond the Swedish sphere, and they like dabbled in Canadian and American comics as well. But yeah, I would sell my like signs there, and the ones that I didn't sell there, I would like ship internationally, and I would also sell them as digital PDFs through Gumroad, and eventually through like those online uploads and indie products, I would start to get noticed by like studios from overseas, and yeah, I started getting freelance work from there.
That's awesome. I love that like you started like by doing commissions, and then just kind of going to conventions, and then like I don't know, I love hearing the story. It's like always so inspiring to me that like, you know, it's kind of like the internet way of
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it's so cool though, like so fun that you can pursue a career that way.
Yeah. Do you feel like how long were you uploading every day for before you feel like you kind of got noticed?
Ooh, I guess it was for like for a couple of months at least. It is really difficult when you first start out to gain an audience. Yes. Regardless like of your skill, there is a lot of luck involved in it.
Sure.
But yeah, like I said, it helps if you go to places where you have a bigger chance of getting noticed. Like if you use certain tags, or if you join like collaborative projects. Like I was part of like signs where like 30 other artists would like come together, and like they all made like a piece and then combined it into a full product.
Yeah, that's fun. Have you ever had any interest in like developing your own stories or worlds, or you know, a graphic novel or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. I've had like a lot of my own ideas. So some I have been able to develop into small comics.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been able to develop a super big project like a graphic novel or anything like that. Because I mainly wanted to focus on improving my art and getting hired.
Sure, yeah. I mean, gotta pay the bills.
Yeah, and like really big projects comes with like really big risks.
Sure.
Yeah. I totally relate to what you're saying. I feel this is kind of one of the things that I'm like kind of facing now is like, if you do want to like take on a big project, you have to take on big risks. And how, you know, personality wise, how much of a risk-taking personality are we, you know? It's like I want to make my own comics, and it's like it takes a lot of time, you know, like do I like keep working in the biz and make a good amount of money, or take the risk of like not getting paid and make my comic?
Yeah. It's especially brutal, I imagine, for you people who live in LA, because it's just more costly to live there too, right?
So expensive. Yeah, you can't take any risks. You will be out on the street if you don't have a job for a while.
It's also pretty pricey. I remember when I went to Stockholm, it was like it's not cheap. I mean, maybe rent is fine, but you're not in the capital, right? You're
Yeah. Luckily, I'm in a small town down in the south, so yeah.
Okay, that helps. Being in a small town, do you feel like you have a community of artists to hang out with, or do you get your fill of like creative conversations through your online interactions or your job?
So I do have some friends and family members who have studied and are still interested in art. But when it comes to the industry in which I work, I usually turn to the online world for discussions and updates. And it's also the place where I get the most feedback on my work and inspiration as well, I would say.
Sure, yeah. That makes sense. How do you deal with creative block when it hits you, and what does it feel like to you?
So how I experience creative block isn't really me running out of ideas. There's always stuff I want to draw. It's more of me not finding the strength to draw or feeling like I'm not good enough to execute my ideas. Now, one solution is just to take a break, step away from art for a while, go outside or play some video games or whatever. But another one that I find very useful is to focus on study drawing, like studying anatomy, doing life drawing, etc. Because it's a way to save your creative energy, but still feeling like you're getting a lot of things done by purely practicing your observational skill. And of course, it's super useful for your art in general, no matter what your style or focus is.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's something that's like kind of gotten me out of some pretty like dark blocks, because like you said, you can just like watch and draw, and you know that you're being productive. You don't have to worry so much.
It's really gratifying.
And then you like look at your sketchbook and you're like, awesome. In 30 minutes, I drew like, I don't know, 10 pages of drawings. It's like, what's your favorite type of life drawing? Is it like the short poses or the longer poses?
I like to do because I use websites for my life drawing. So they usually have this built-in class mode where you start out with short poses and eventually make it to longer poses. And yeah, those are my favorite to do. Because then it gives the illusion that you're in a life drawing class.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that sort of skill will always be useful to no matter what kind of pursuit you have in drawing. Even if you like to draw realistically or cartoony, that skill will always come in handy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
We got a bunch of really good questions on Twitter, and I would love to dig into them. First, from @EricTaller, they asked, do you primarily work in Clip Studio Paint or Photoshop when you're working with character designs for TV animation?
Oh, that's a fun question, because this year I made a full transition to Clip Studio Paint, actually.
Nice.
Because I used to work in Photoshop all the time. It's the standard, it's the industry standard. It's what most artists come across first when they first start drawing digitally. But Clip Studio is just, I don't know. It's so much better in every way. It's so artist friendly in its interface, updates, and most of all pricing.
Yes.
It's a one-time buy.
Yes.
I don't want to sound like an ad right now, but it's a one-time buy and you have it forever.
No, we need that sponsorship.
I really agree. I just wiped my computer recently and literally asked Twitter what should I get, because I'm tired of getting the subscription, and also I'm tired of having Adobe Cloud constantly running in the background of my computer, eating away all my memory. So that's kind of what
you can turn that off.
Yeah, you can. I'm just listen, I'm not computer savvy.
Yeah, it's not great.
And
right.
And so Clip Studio Paint, people recommended that, and I really like it. I think it has a lot of really cool stuff, like the pen stabilizer. I was like, dang, this is great. You can make this beautiful lines much more easily.
Exactly.
Is that where if you hold it, it'll kind of adjust as you draw it?
It's kind of how would you describe it?
I don't know if I use the pen stabilizer that much, actually.
Oh, really? Okay, that's funny, because for example, for me, that was something that when I try to do, because I do storyboards, so I don't really do character design, but and one of the reasons is because I'm doing these clean lines is so hard. I am so used to drawing rough, but in Clip Studio Paint, you can kind of adjust the stabilizer, and so if you draw a curve, it will kind of automatically kind of predict your curve, and it's gonna just kind of keep it straight. So yeah, it's not wiggly.
That's really nice.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, is it like when you drew in Flash?
A little bit, yes.
Where it sort of corrects your lines for you?
A little bit, except in Flash, it was kind of intrusive, but in Clip Studio Paint, it works surprisingly well. Yeah.
So yeah, Flash is like, you either have to draw fast or you have to correct it after the fact. But if you go slow, it's not gonna do it. So that's a nice feature. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people have been making the jump away from Photoshop, and I don't blame them. It's like, it's not very good. It's really bloated.
Yeah, bloated, and yes, I know it just keep getting more bloated with every update. I feel like.
Probably, yeah. Well, it's trying to do a million different things, right? Like, it's this show is just the Adobe hate. every episode. But yeah, it's like meant for so many different things that it just makes it so hard to understand.
Yeah.
I just think it's so unfair to young artists as well. Now that digital art is kind of the norm, and with Photoshop being the face of digital art, naturally a lot of newcomers will flock to it. But I don't think the way Adobe has set things up are good enough, as opposed to Clip Studio. And yeah, artists are already struggling enough, so I don't think they should have to worry about just being able to afford or maintain these essential tools.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, I don't know, I feel like the only subscriptions they have are like very geared towards picture editing and like video editing. So it doesn't feel like Photoshop is like geared towards illustrators anymore. I don't know, that's kind of like my feeling with it. It doesn't feel like very illustrator friendly, at least not as much as like Clip Studio Paint, which when you look at the basic features, you're like, oh, this is the software to make comics or illustrations in.
Yeah.
We got another question from @FlippySuper. What are details of character designs that are important to you, but not a lot of people talk about?
Oh, that's a good question. That not a lot of people talk about.
What do people talk about in character design?
I mean, people usually talk about, like, try to keep your, your characters varied and distinct. Make sure to have your characters work in, like, from all perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
But not something that not a lot of people talk about.
Is there anything that specific to Owl House that you've kind of absorbed into your own work that maybe wasn't there before?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff from Owl House that I've learned. Yeah, I guess one thing. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could talk about that, like how. Yeah, with the Owl House, when I first started out, I did still draw like my characters in a pretty graphic way. I wasn't like thinking about how they would like turn out, look like when they were made into turnarounds.
Sure.
Because I think it's very important to, even if you're just making like the initial front-facing pose, that you have to try to imagine what that character is going to look like from behind and from profile too. And that's something that I think I got a lot better at as I've been working on Owl House, to think in a more, how should I say, like volumetric way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is that something you learn more from? Like, was that something that you were being given notes on, or did you just kind of see the work being put into the show and adjust along the way?
Yeah, it was definitely more from, me studying the work of my peers and realizing, like, oh, I need to step up, like, I need to change the way I'm doing things. And the same goes for, like, how I used to do my line art, like my clean lines. I definitely have gotten a lot better at that through the Owl House. And also, like, my line economy has improved too. Like, I've been able to, how should I say, like, tell more with less.
Yeah. That's just a big part of, I think, just growing as an artist, is you start to realize you don't need to have as many lines and as much detail. Like, you can get across a lot with very little.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, these are things that you like, that people don't always like talk about, but it's something that you learn along the way, I should say.
Definitely. Yeah, line economy is one I don't think we've really talked about much. Sort of related to that, at Nathaniel Foga asked, what's a character you enjoyed designing for the most?
I guess we can keep it to the Owl House. If we're going with season 1, it would probably be one of the first designs I did, which is the Warden from episode 1. I had a lot of fun exploring that character. I think my favorite parts of the character design process is always like the exploring part, like the visual development part, where you just like shoot out a bunch of ideas to see what sticks. I always like refer to that stage like as the honeymoon phase of a design. And if there's one design from season 2, I guess I should draw it. Maybe that's easier.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so this one background character from season 2. He's featured in a new city called Latissa. He's just a background character that like just walks past the main character in like one scene, but I really like how he turned out. It's this sort of dog-like thing with big lips and horns.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of fun incidentals in that show.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It must be like a really fun show to work on, like as a designer.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I feel like I've been really spoiled to have like the Owl House as my first real design job. Because it's like, I already like drawing demons and witches like on my free time. And then they were like, approached me and was like, oh, do you want to do this like full time?
How did they reach out, by the way? Email or like DMs?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's kind of a funny story, actually. I was reached out by Dana, the creator, through a Twitter DM. And she said, hey, I just wanted to check to make sure, but I sent you an email like a week ago asking if you want to do like some freelance work on an animated pitch I want to do for Disney. So yeah, I just wanted to ask if you're interested or not, because you haven't answered. And I was like, what email? So I went to Gmail and like checked my junk mail, and yeah, Gmail had her
what? That's crazy. Wow.
So I was like, oh yeah, thanks Gmail, thanks for the hard work. So I was like, yeah, of course I want to like do freelance designs for your project.
God, that sucks.
And yeah, so it started out with some very early, it was before the show was greenlit, so it started out with some very early explorations for what the main characters and the townspeople could look like. And like a month after, I think, I was approached by Dana and Disney again, and they said that the show had been greenlit, and they asked if I wanted to work full time.
That is so cool.
That's awesome. That ties into the next question from @JellyMoonDraws. Hi, Matthew. Is it difficult working as a character designer remotely, like with the time differences and not having anyone right there to advise you in person? And they say they will most likely have to work remotely if they eventually get a job, and these are two things that they're anxious about.
I'm rusty when talking for this live.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Especially in English.
No, I think it's also really interesting too, because like, you know, like you do you feel like you speak English often?
No, I mean, I write a lot of English, but that's not the same as speaking.
Yeah.
Sure, it's different.
And I've noticed, like, when I downloaded Audacity, I started recording myself just to check if the audio was all right. And I noticed that, like, I stumble upon my words a lot. And I do a lot of pausing to think, like,
that's fine.
What words to say.
That's why we have an editor. Shout out to Clem.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, editor.
No, this is really cool. No. Like, I think it ties into the question of like, you know, working remote and, you know, like being anxious about working from, you know, for like the whole other continent. So,
yeah, I would say there's definitely a a lot of things to overcome when you work remotely. I mean, I haven't had any real studio jobs to compare what those experiences are like, but I've still felt the difficulties of working from Sweden. For one, the time zones. I think it's a 9-hour difference between us and the US. So there's a lot of late meetings, and whenever I want feedback on something or like want to talk to my directors, it has to be like at 7 or like 10 p.m.
Yeah, it's good that they're working with you on that though. Like it's good that they're flexible that way.
Yeah, I'm really grateful, of course, too, that I'm able to work remotely. But yeah, like I said, it comes with difficulties too. Sure. And time zones are definitely one of them. If you're working full time, it's not much of a problem if you're just doing like a couple of freelance assignments, because then it's just like 2 or 3 emails like, oh, here's the assignment, like you draw it and you send it back, and they're like, okay, change this, and then you're done. Mm-hmm. But in a full-time job, it's a lot more. It's a lot more interactive.
Yeah, for sure.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's like do you feel like you're on call a little bit, that you have to be like available at any kind of like given time, just to kind of like be able to address notes and stuff?
I definitely felt like that a lot of times, because there are a lot of times when we get like these emergency designs that like, oh, we need to finish this like this week. So even if I'm not like working, if I'm not like currently working at the evening, I'm still like ready for that email to arrive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like this is something that's kind of tricky when you know, like as an artist, sometimes is like the actual time that you work is not that much, but knowing that you have to stick around your computer just in case there's an email, sometimes that can be like really tricky. I think it's not like every show, but some shows, or like depending on the project, sometimes it can be like that.
Yeah, but I'm not complaining much, like because I'm still grateful that I'm able to do it, and I was sort of expecting, I don't know.
That it would be that way.
Yeah, that it would be that way, and I'm a bit of a night owl anyway, so it didn't affect me that much.
It worked out good.
Exactly. I would like to try eventually to work in a studio though, because you do feel like you're missing out on a lot when you're working remotely. Because I imagine it's a whole different thing to present your work through emails or like through meetings and being there in person, rather than just like sending an email and getting like a thumbs up.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's been the thing all the past, almost 2 years now, right? But it's like, we can do the work and it's fine. And that's good that now there's these opportunities for people outside of the country, or even just like in a different state, you know, like it was impossible to get remote work for so long in animation, but now there's a lot more opportunities. However, it's not the same. Like being in the studio, I really miss working in the studio and like running into people, like being able to chat for an hour with somebody else, somebody that you don't live with every day, you know. So that's the downside of everyone being remote.
Yeah.
We had a question from @SE_CoreGT. What is the hardest part of being a character designer?
The hardest part of being a character designer? I mean, designing the characters, I guess.
the whole job.
Yeah, I guess the whole job.
The job itself. Yeah, I get that.
Well, do you actually like to do post-boards design better, or doing pre-board designs? Like, you know?
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, do you mean which one of those are like the most difficult?
Yeah, which one is the most difficult? Which ones do you like the best? And like, how much do you get to do of each of those? do you get to do more post boards, or like do you get to do more like pre?
Definitely more post boards. Yeah, because that's where most of the character design meat is in. That's when you need to like design turns for every character that appears and like make, or you need to clean up shots for
like overseas.
Yeah, make them into special poses. But my favorite part is the pre-board stuff, like because that's the visual development stuff, like I talked about earlier, where I just like to get to go ham and like just explore a bunch of things. And the Aulas is a show too where I can be very free. What should I say? Like I get a lot of freedom exploring those ideas. They trust me enough like to come up with cool demons ideas and stuff.
Was the little dog person guy that you drew like a pre-board or a post-board design?
That's a pre-board design. That's just like we have a new whole city and we need like a bunch of different new citizens to fill that city with, so that the board art just has something to work with.
That's awesome. I love that.
And I think those were like some of my all-time favorite designs, because I got so much freedom, and I don't think a single one needed like any revisions or anything. They were just like, oh yeah, it's good to go.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have any future goals for what you want to do? Like you mentioned, you do have some projects that you're interested in working on. Do you feel comfortable talking about that, or is that a secret?
No, I can talk about that because there's not really much to talk about. I don't have any big projects planned. I have lots of ideas, but then again, who doesn't?
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing planned right now. Right now, I just want to focus on getting better at my profession and, I don't know, just art in general. Because I feel like I'm very proud of the work that I've done and the projects that I've been involved in so far, and like the following I've gained. But I also feel like these past few years, working more closely with the industry and all, has revealed a lot of my weaknesses. And some of these weaknesses I have been able to deal with as I'm working. For example, like the line economy, or like getting better at cleanup. But there are other weaknesses that I feel I need to give my full attention and time in order to tackle properly. So like, I don't know, one plan I have, like once I go on break again, is I want to try to attend one of those like online art classes for specific things, like art classes for learning perspective and backgrounds, or color design and that sort of stuff.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because I feel like your line work and your character design work is like so professional. I was like, wow, I'm really inspired to hear that you're always like trying to get better. When you say like background and color, is it because this is something that you would kind of want to try out as well? Like, would you want to try out being like a background designer?
I'm not sure if I want to like pursue like background art professionally, but I definitely want to learn it just for my own art. Like I want to be able to create that for myself. I want to be able to make full illustrations, because those are the types of like, I don't know, full illustrations are like the type of work that I'm able to look back at and appreciate. Even though I feel like I've evolved, I can still like appreciate the work that went into a full illustration. But it's not the same with just like sketches and characters against a white background.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, it's good to absorb other bits of information. It all ends up going towards something, right? Like every new thing you learn, it all informs the others, and so.
Exactly. So yeah, even if I want to pause character design and like focus on like environments, I feel like the info I will gain from backgrounds will strengthen my character designs as well.
Yeah, totally. Is there anything you want to plug while you're on the show, or anything you want to promote?
I don't have much, except for my Twitter and Tumblr, I guess.
Yeah, tell us about your Twitter.
Yeah, you can follow me at Inside Matcha. Yeah, I think it's the same address for my Tumblr as well. It's Inside Matcha. It's a weird address. I got it from the backstory behind it is I got it from Xbox Live.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't get Matcha or like Matcha Kusan because they were like both taken already. So Xbox started like suggesting their own like, oh, maybe you'd like Dragon Matcha or like Epic.
You should have been Dragon Matcha.
Epic Matcha, and then there was like Inside Matcha, and I was like Inside Matcha. I don't know. I don't even know like what
should
it
have
means.
done Epic. Should have done Epic Matcha. That sounds great.
No, that's horrible.
Inside Dragon Matcha. Epic.
Inside Dragon. Epic Inside Dragon Matcha.
But yeah,
do all of them.
There was something just like about Inside Matcha that just stuck with me. And I started using it.
Yeah, no, it's catchy. All our names are weird, right? I used to be, when I first started doing stuff, my first Flash series I did, it was called Hyperboy, and my name was Hyperboy everywhere. And I think around college time, I think it was when I started Tumblr and using other like Twitter and other platforms, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I was like, I do not want to be in my 20s and then 30s and still have to be going by Hyperboy everywhere.
Hyperboy,
so I'm glad I pivoted hard away from that. But my DeviantArt's still around. It's still Hyperboy.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's very difficult to use in a professional space. Those kind of old internet nicknames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Sure. It's so true. I feel like, I don't know, unless you're, I don't know. I feel like you're, well, Inside Matcha is like, it feels professional. It doesn't feel, because there's like your name in it, I guess. So, it doesn't feel like too crazy. Yeah. It's not like, I don't know. Yeah. Epic Dragon Slayer 99.
Epic Dragon Slayer 99.
Hello,
That's
Epic
my
Dragon.
Artist name.
Yeah. I can just like imagine the emails like, hello, Epic Dragon 69. Like, we like to approach you for freelance work. Are you available?
Somebody has had to do that, right? Like somebody has a ridiculous handle and the employer had to type it out because they didn't know that. Like that's definitely happened somewhere.
I don't know with like would you think with like an actual studio, or would you say with like maybe like, oh wait, I mentioned before, like we wrap up or anything, you said you work in video games a little bit, is that right?
Yeah, just a tiny bit, not much. I would say I did some assets for like a mobile game called Lit, and I also did like a bit of promotional art for tribute games for one of their games called Curses and Chaos.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that was gorgeous.
Oh, you remember?
What was that? I do remember that. Well, I like Tribute. I follow what they do.
Ah, nice.
Because it's good stuff. Yeah, I remember that.
I was doing design for animation and for games different.
I feel like I'm not experienced enough in actually, game concept art to properly like compare the two.
That's fine.
Gotcha. Just dipped your
But maybe
toe
the
in.
game company would have like reached out to you if you were called Epic Dragon Slayer 99. So they would have like
maybe.
Yeah, you gotta change it. You gotta change your name. Then you get more video games work.
I mean, I've always been interested in video games though. For a long time, I wanted to be a concept artist, even though I didn't like fully know what that entailed. But I've been inspired by video games for a long time. Like stuff like Wind Waker has been like a super big influence on me artistically. It's like a big reason why I still draw, characters with big melon heads and like small stick bodies.
I love Wind Waker.
Yeah, it's so cute. Animal Crossing at all?
No, I never got into Animal Crossing. I'm kind of afraid to get into it because it seems super addictive.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person once I get into a game, I like just start playing it nonstop.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, me too. That's why I don't play a lot of video games, because I know I keep saying like I'll play Breath of the Wild, and I never do, because I'm like, if I do, I am losing a month. Yeah,
it'll consume your life.
Because I know it's like it's typically like the kind of game that I love. It's like casual enough that it's not too hard for me, because I'm not like the hardcore gamer, and it's got all the little fun stuff like cooking and taking pictures and all that, and the fights, and I'm like, no, I am gonna spend my entire life.
No, it'll destroy you. Do it over a holiday. Start doing it over the holiday. Treat yourself.
Yeah,
that was Stardew Valley for me, because I was like, this will be a problem if I start.
Yeah.
And so I like didn't touch it, and then there was a moment where I like really needed a break, and I needed something to just like turn my brain off, and played it for like 2 months straight. I don't know. It was nice.
Did you play Stardew Valley after I started drawing Shane?
No, that was before.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you did not. Shane was not the reason for me to play Stardew Valley.
That's so funny.
Cool. Well, that's the end of this Creative Block. Matt, thanks for being our guest and sharing your story.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to your listeners. Follow us on Twitter. It's @Creative Block, creative without the vowels, where we ask for drunk prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to my sister Clements for editing the podcast.
If you love our show, then support us on Patreon. Becoming a patron gets you early access to interviews as well as bonus episodes. Click the link in the description of this episode. I've been your host, Gene.
And I was V. Keep being creative, and we'll see you next week.
Bye. Bye.